A fun matchup of teams that are very familiar with each other, given the distance that they are away from each other. Shout out to the DMV. We have Georgetown taking on Maryland in this game. Both teams coming in at 1-0. Maryland with the winner in their first game, Georgetown as well. Two teams that, obviously Maryland, first year for Buzz Williams, kind of a year that I feel like Maryland fans are approaching it as they just kind of want to see what they had this year. Now, Matt, luckily, you can give me a little bit more insight on Maryland and what their mindset is as a team this year. But they have some fun pieces. Darius Adams, a player I'm very familiar with, being that I wanted him to be a Spartan really, really badly. Pharrell Payne, a very productive player who has produced in the Big Ten and at Texas A&M as well as some other interesting pieces. And then with Georgetown, with Ed Cooley, Malik Mack, KJ Lewis, some other very interesting pieces on these teams. So, given that this is a very interesting game, Matt, I'll throw it to you first for your thoughts just on this matchup overview before we kind of dive into maybe a team by team thing.
Well, I know Darius Adams started at UConn with his commitment, but if he had gone Michigan State over Maryland after we lost out on Cam Ward and Jordan Scott, I don't think I'd be able to do this convo with you, Carter. So I'm glad we got one of them over Tom Izzo because he's run the DMV here kind of recently.
We
Uh,
needed it. We needed it, but I'm glad that I'll still get to watch a lot of Darius Adams in the Big Ten. I'm a big fan of his game and how he's getting to the free throw line early on here. I know you probably want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's honestly been huge, and they were kind of struggling a little bit well into the first 7 or 8 minutes into the second half here, and Adams got to the line a bunch and really kind of steadied the ship when they went, I don't know, like 5 minutes without a basket. So him going 10 to 12 from the line, Pharrell Payne, career 52% free throw shooter, going 9 for 9 from the line was also kind of unexpected, and I think going to be another important factor against this Georgetown team too. Like Adams is gonna have to play minutes for this group, and I don't think he can shoot it. So if he can't shoot it, at least get to the line. And Buzz Williams talked a lot about after this game how his ability to get to the line allowed them to set up their defense. When they set up their defense, it allowed them to force turnovers. And when they forced turnovers, they scored points. They had 30 points off turnovers, although Georgetown does that too, having 29 last night. So I think the recipe for these teams is like kind of the same, just how they go about it is a little different. Lock people down on defense, try to score off some turnovers, make enough 3-point shots to keep people honest, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, look, in this game, you're not necessarily having any offensive, I think, firepower, right? I think these are teams that they want to win on the defensive end. We know that the what the book is on Buzz Williams, right? He's never gonna be this honestly offensive mastermind necessarily. He wants to win games with toughness, defense, and rebounding. Honestly, he prefers misses sometimes. I used to joke a little bit because he likes an offensive rebound more than anything. And I think that he has a team that, I think encompasses that. Like Pharrell Payne is a guy that is a physical presence. Elijah Saunders has played for some really good defensive teams. They have some guards that really get into it on that end. I was impressed with some of the other freshman pieces, even outside of Darius Adams. And I think Maryland's going to have a big challenge in this one because, the numbers don't necessarily go in Georgetown's favor as far as like, shooting numbers. I think they vary a little bit. They're a team that I don't necessarily think you need to worry about. I mean, they currently sit at 206 in the country from 3-point range. That's what happens when you play guys like KJ Lewis and Deshaun Harris Smith, even Malik Mack to a certain extent. But this is a team that does have firepower. And, we look back to that Kentucky game where exhibition game, Kentucky down three starters. But Georgetown was impressive in that game.
Yeah.
Physically, they were able to dominate in that game, and they were also able to get good performances from Malik Mack and KJ Lewis. So I guess who is this Georgetown team? Are they the game against the exhibition that they had against Kentucky, or are they more so what they looked like against Morgan State last night, which was kind of an ugly performance?
I think it solely depends on how they're shooting from three in that particular game. They were much better in the Kentucky exhibition. They were about 15% in this Morgan State game, and you just see that really clogged things up for them when they couldn't get that same space. You got guys that want to drive. I think that like mid-range pull-up from KJ Lewis is particularly lethal, but he couldn't really get to it the same, and Morgan State seemed to know what to take away there. Mac can't go 1 for 5 in a game like this against Maryland. Honestly, it sounds cliche, but I think whichever one of these teams shoots better from three has a pretty good shot to win the game.
Yeah, and looking at this too, Xfinity Center, very tough place to play. That place gets rocking. A game that is, I think Georgetown's going to have obviously a lot of DMV kids that are going to be playing in this game. It
Sure.
could be one that's a very raucous environment, I would say. Now you never really know. It's Friday game, 6 p.m. I know how that goes. I know
Yep,
also how DMV traffic goes getting to some of these games and things like that.
for sure.
But I do think that, if I am Maryland in this game, this would be one that if I dropped, I wouldn't feel great about, right? Because you have the home court advantage. Defense is something that you want to hang your hat on. And I think you should be able to, stifle things for Georgetown and then, also be able to get a little bit of home cooking and how you operate in this game. Is this one that you think, you expect Maryland to win, I guess, playing at home against, when you analytically look at it, this is a team in Maryland that's 50 spots higher than Georgetown on KenPom. Now, early on in the year, small sample size, but Maryland kind of is the superior team at home in this case.
I think the matchup, other than the three-point shooting, but the matchup that determines this is just can Uwachukwu slow down for El Payne? For Maryland, there's not been much else in the paint, and they need those point paints from Payne. I think he's been their best player by far, despite what Adams has done getting to the line and things like that. But if Uwachukwu can play a decent amount, not get in foul trouble, I think their defense is so much better when he's there backing them up. These drivers for Maryland, he can kind of help repel them a little bit. If he gets into foul trouble, I think Payne will feast against Halifanua. Just that's I don't think he's there defensively yet for a matchup like this. But Maryland's not super deep, so it's tough. I think health is another big thing for this one. The perimeter defense is kind of stifling for Georgetown, and Maryland started three freshman guards. That ball security is probably not the thing that either any of the three of them are particularly known for. So it's I'm kind of hedging here a little bit, Carter. I actually think I would slightly favor Georgetown in this one, just like very slightly. And
Mhm.
this is me playing mind games on the Georgetown people right now. Like I ranked them preseason. I'm saying that they'll win this, so I'm hoping I can get in their head a little bit and start the psychological warfare here, just for the Terps. But honestly, I do think they're like a little more solid in the backcourt, and until Maryland gets like guys like Miles Rice back, it probably just limits them a little bit too much.
Yeah, I can see that certainly. And have you heard anything about Miles Rice when he will be back, or even Solomon Washington as well? I know he was out for the last game.
Yeah, Washington, I think is going to be a little longer. Rice is out of the boot. It wouldn't totally shock me if he did like the Paul Pierce being wheelchaired out of the locker room kind of thing in this game and made an appearance. Honestly, I do think that would maybe tip the scales back in Maryland's favor just to have another solid, competent ball handler. You can't just be Diggy Coit the entire time, kind of running offense for them. So we'll see. They've been really mum is the word about this. Buzz keeps throwing out things like HIPAA violations anytime people ask him questions about where Rice is at. So it's kind of TBD still.
Yeah, I'm also very interested to see too. Obviously Georgetown, I think they have the personnel. Like you look on
Yep.
paper, like they have the personnel to really lock down on that end, and I think
Yep.
Malik Mack can provide enough offense for this team to really make some things happen. So I'm looking at that end to see what Georgetown is going to look like in a really tough road environment in a game against a better team. I think you're going to find out a lot about this Georgetown team. And on the other side of this, I think obviously a lot of attention is thrown on the Darius Adams being the highly touted freshman. But Andre Mills, I was very
Yeah.
impressed with in that last game. I think I saw a funny tweet. They're like, "This is what we were promised Deshaun Harris Smith would be," and I was like, that kind of tore at me a little bit because Deshaun
Yeah.
Harris Smith is my guy. He'll also be playing for Georgetown this game, so
And
looking for maybe a little
he was pretty
revenge.
good against Morgan State too. So he
Yeah, so this is one that's going to be high stakes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking at what this game looks like line wise, Ken Palm has this as a 10-point game.
it's kind of crazy to me. I would take that.
Okay, but how far would you take that? You get to the point where you think you take Georgetown to win, or are you just saying it's going to be a close game?
I would definitely take the points there for sure and go Georgetown with the points. I might even just take them straight up, but that one is more 50-50 for me. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
When I look at this game, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to the fact that not to do the cliche thing, but I think this is going to be somewhat of an ugly game that comes
yeah,
down to
same.
maybe who makes more free throws or like who's fouling out for what side. Like foul
Yeah.
trouble, I think could play a big factor in this game. Maryland so far has been one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country, 92%. A team that plays for El Payne from the free throw line, which is
Yeah. Can
crazy to
can
me
that
because
hold up is a big question for sure.
we'll see if that holds up. But if it does, I think this comes down to free throws. I think Maryland wins. I
Okay.
think Georgetown will cover.
Okay.
But it'll be a very interesting game to watch. I'm very interested to watch it. I know you are as well. Once we do watch that game, be sure to tune in to Sleepers Media YouTube channel. We will have the recap of that game. Very excited to talk to you about that, Matt. But be sure to tune in all year long on Sleepers Media YouTube channel where we will have previews and recaps of all the biggest games across college basketball.